The sun had barely begun its descent behind the jagged horizon of the New Mexico mesas, painting the sky in streaks of gold and crimson, when Elijah Parker, a rugged frontiersman, rode into the small clearing beside a whispering stream. His horse, weary from days on the trail, slowed to a reluctant trot, sniffing the dry earth and the faint scent of sagebrush that clung to the air. Elijah had been traveling for weeks, tracking the faint traces of a long-forgotten path that led him into Apache territory. Far from any map or town, he was a man of quiet words, but his eyes spoke volumes, carrying a weight of solitude and loss that only the wilderness could understand. By the edge of the clearing, a figure appeared, crouched beside the stream, her dark hair falling in tangled waves as she washed a small pot of wild herbs. The woman's presence startled him, not because of fear, but because of the calm certainty she radiated, the kind of quiet strength that seemed to belong to the land itself. She looked up, her dark eyes meeting his with an unspoken question, as if she had been expecting someone like him, though she had no way of knowing. Elijah dismounted slowly, hands raised in peace. "I mean no harm," he said, his voice rough from the dust and wind. The Apache woman, whose name was Nayeli, regarded him cautiously. She had been traveling alone for days, fleeing the turmoil of her people's lands and seeking refuge wherever she could find it. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, and fatigue weighed heavy in her bones. Yet in the man before her, she saw not danger, but a chance, however fleeting, for safety. "I just need a place to stay for one night," she said, her voice steady despite the weariness that clung to her like a second skin. Elijah studied her carefully. He was no stranger to the hardships of the frontier, nor to the desperate pleas of those seeking shelter. Something in her eyes, a mixture of determination and vulnerability, tugged at the corners of his heart, softening the years of solitude he had built around himself like a fortress. Without a word, he led his horse closer to a small, secluded cabin hidden among the rocks and twisted pines. The structure was modest, but it offered warmth and safety, a rarity in a world ruled by harsh elements and harsher men. Inside, the cabin smelled of cedar and smoke, the hearth glowing with a gentle warmth that promised comfort against the chill of approaching night. Elijah gestured for Nayeli to sit, offering her a cup of water and a small loaf of bread. She accepted it with a nod, her fingers brushing against his briefly, an innocent contact that carried more meaning than either of them could articulate. They ate in silence at first, the sound of crackling fire filling the space between them. Outside, the wind whispered through the pines, a reminder of the vast wilderness surrounding their fragile sanctuary. As night fell, they spoke softly, sharing stories of their pasts. Elijah told of his years, wandering the frontier, of lost friends and battles fought against both man and nature. Nayeli spoke of her people, of the traditions she held sacred, of the life she had been forced to leave behind. Their words formed a fragile bridge between two worlds, two souls who had been shaped by the unforgiving land but who, in this brief meeting, found understanding. The night deepened, and with it grew a sense of quiet companionship that neither had expected. Sleep came reluctantly, the fire's embers casting dancing shadows across the cabin walls. Elijah placed a blanket near the hearth for Nayeli, insisting she rest first. As he watched her drift into slumber, a thought struck him, a feeling he had long buried under years of isolation. He realized that in the vast expanse of the frontier, where survival was often measured in the ability to endure alone, he had discovered a connection deeper than friendship, a bond that promised not just protection, but partnership. And for the first time in years, the solitude that had defined his life felt less like a shield and more like a cage he was willing to leave behind. Morning came with the gentle light of dawn filtering through the pine trees, painting the cabin in soft hues of amber. Nayeli stirred, her eyes blinking open to find Elijah already tending to the hearth, the warm glow reflecting off his weathered features. The night had been uneventful, yet in the quiet of shared safety, something had shifted between them, an invisible thread weaving their fates together. Nayeli felt it too, a strange, comfort in a life that had been shaped by constant uncertainty. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carrying a weight of gratitude that went beyond mere words. Elijah nodded, brushing ash from his hands. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "Everyone deserves a safe place to rest, even if it's just for one night." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken emotion, and in that pause, both realized that one night had stretched into something neither had expected, something far more profound. As the days passed, Nayeli found herself helping Elijah with the cabin, gathering firewood and tending a small garden he had started near the stream. Their days were filled with quiet labor, yet each task carried a sense of shared purpose, a rhythm that bound them together in ways words could not capture. They laughed over small mishaps, exchanged glances laden with understanding, and gradually the barriers of distrust that often separated man and woman in the wilderness began to crumble. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the horizon in fiery shades of orange, Elijah and Nayeli sat side by side on a fallen log, watching the stream glitter in the fading light. Elijah spoke softly, his words deliberate. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," he said. "I've lived my life expecting to walk alone, but I don't think I want that anymore." Nayeli turned to him, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. Neither do I," she replied. The honesty in her voice was raw, unguarded, and it carried the weight of all the nights she had spent seeking refuge, the countless trials she had endured, and the silent longing for a place to belong. The bond they had forged over days of survival and quiet companionship deepened into something enduring. Elijah realized that the woman who had arrived, seeking shelter for a single night, had become indispensable to his life. Her presence as vital as the air he breathed or the fire that kept him warm. Nayeli understood that the man who had offered her refuge was not merely a protector, but a partner, someone whose heart mirrored her own in courage and resilience. Seasons shifted, and the wilderness around them bore witness to the transformation of their relationship. Together, they faced storms and hardships, celebrated the beauty of each passing season, and built a life founded on trust, respect, and shared dreams. The cabin by the stream became a home, the small garden a symbol of growth and renewal, and the bond between Elijah and Nayeli a testament to the unexpected paths life could take when hearts were open to connection. In the end, Nayeli never returned to the wandering life she once knew. The woman who had asked for shelter for one night became the partner, the equal, and ultimately the wife of the man who had offered her warmth and safety. Their story, born in the simplicity of a quiet night by the fire, grew into a legacy of love and resilience, a tale whispered by the wind through the pines, a reminder that even in the harshest landscapes, hearts could find home in one another.